I'm just leaving a funeral service. It wasn't for somebody in my family, and I wouldn't even say it was for a friend I developed to care about. And I was invited to come, and I decided to go. This time of year is hard for me in general. Well, now it's hard for me because I'm 2 days away from being a year removed from having my dad here with me, which is tough. But the thing about it is, I know how much it meant for me to have support from other people when I had just lost him. So anytime that I have to show up for other people when I can, I do that. And this is one of those times. Now, when it comes to this particular loss, it's a tough one, and I have faced this kind of loss before where there's uncertain terms of how and why the person was lost. I shouldn't even say there's uncertain terms, it's just the life that they lived was a hard one, and it was not a natural causes loss. And I think about my life, especially during times like this. And, as hard as my life has been at times, it hasn't been the worst life in the world. I have never been in the positions as some of these other people have. Um, there was no drug usage in my life. There was no, I lived a pretty good life. I have lived a pretty good life, is what I'm trying to say. Good afternoon, Colleen. Yeah, but like I was saying, life is very difficult, and it's tough to see when it breaks somebody down to the point where they're not able to utilize coping mechanisms. I always talk to people all day about coping mechanisms, but when there's cases where there's drug use involved, specifically substance abuse, a lot of times the people get isolated from their family. I've seen this so many times where somebody is some kind of abuser, and then they get the family tries to forgive them and tells them, we need you to get sober, we need you to get better. And then they try, they go to rehab, they do different things to try to get themselves clean, and then they go back. They have a moment where they go back, and then eventually the family is just like, I can't deal with you anymore. I empathize with all parties because I know that it's tough for the family to actually love somebody but say, I don't want to be in communication with you anymore. And on the other side of the coin, the person that has the problem, they don't stop loving their family because of what they're doing. Even though the family feels that way, the family is like, you love what you're using more than you love us. No, it's more complex than that. It's more complex than that. But I realize that I'm in a much better place than I was around this time last year, because I was in the midst of my grief, and I wouldn't have even been able to handle something like this happening around me, because actually, out of all those people in that church that I just left. Out of all the people in that church, I was the person who saw them, the deceased person, alive. I was probably the last person in there that saw that person alive. And we spoke. I met them at I guess at a low point, and but I was able to talk to the family and just share my condolences and be a little support. I know they didn't really know me too well, but I've been connected with them a little bit. Hi D and hi Ed. But I feel for them, I really do. I feel for them. When my family member was in that spot, I was not directly dealing with it. I knew about it to an extent, but I was not the direct line of contact with that person. So I did feel it, but I did feel it though. And it really made me think that we all have a short amount of time here. So when you know somebody that is struggling, I would say just do your best to not judge them and to try to be a source, listening ear, because I think everybody would rather listen to somebody a little more or a little longer than to talk about them at their funeral service. I know I would. Sometimes when I feel like I'm stretching myself in terms of, oh man, I'm tired, I don't really want to listen to this person's problems. Sometimes I feel that way, but then I think to myself, that little extra time that I spend listening to their problems could be, it might feel like a stretch to me, but it could be a thing that saves their lives depending on how serious whatever it is that they are going through. 999 subs. Yeah, it is definitely hard to do sometimes. Few things matter, but kindness and personal relationships. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. When you talk to somebody who has a substance problem, I think it could cut off. You can tell them a bunch of different things, but unless they feel they have people to live for, I think that's the main thing that keeps people alive. Their relationships with other people. Loneliness can be a real thing. I know that this person was lonely. I know that my visits that I did in my short time of knowing them were impactful, but impactful to an extent. I'm not their family member. Hi, Prince. It's a nice day out today. I think once I get home, I'm going to try to take a walk in this nice weather. I think we have, 70 degrees or something like that today. So we're deep into spring. We're deep into spring. But yeah, when my uncle went, I found out all this stuff about him afterwards. I found out about his life, and I found out about different things that were going on with him, and maybe different ways that the family treated him. And I felt bad about it because he was my uncle, and I never really spent any amount of time trying to get to know him. I mean, I remember him being around Christmas, Thanksgiving, like certain holidays, certain special occasions, certain family gatherings. I had last seen him at my grandmother's 80th birthday, I believe, was the last time I saw him. And we had really surface level conversations. He was kind of known as a black sheep, really. But not to say that me talking to him would extend his life necessarily, but you just never know when it could be your last conversation with somebody. Yeah, I need to get my exercising has just, I've still been exercising, but not the way that I usually do. Gotta get back into it. It was cloudy this morning. Now the sun is just out, blue sky. It was kind of a heavy service. But anyways, y'all, talk to your loved ones, talk to the people around you. If there's somebody who is in your family that you haven't spoken to in a long time, reach out. Just check on them and see how they're doing. If there's somebody, family, friend, who you know who's struggling, shoot them a message, give them a call, leave them a voice note. Like I said, the time that we have here is limited. Even if you live to be 100 years old, that's not that much time. Like, it is a lot of time in a sense of, man, I mean, I know that there's a lot of things that go on in a life that's that long, whether it's your work, career, relationships, world events, different things. It seems like a long time, but it goes by fast. It goes by fast, and you don't want to be somebody who leaves something on the table where you get to a funeral service and all you're feeling there is regret. You're like, wait a minute. Days, weeks, months, and years went by where I haven't seen this person. Somebody at that service that I was just at played a voicemail that this person left them, an unanswered voicemail. And I know from the person who's deceased that they didn't have an active relationship. So I know that voicemail is something that has probably been played and replayed, and there's so much regret and guilt surrounding that. I was actually in a very fortunate position with my dad, because had my dad gotten sick and I was not living at home at the time, I don't know what our relationship would have been like in the end. I really don't. But because of the fact that it happened with me there, and now I was part of his caretaking team, we had conversations that we probably otherwise never would have had. It's doubtful that if I wasn't actually actively there at the time, that I would have had those certain conversations with him. And on my end, it helped me with forgiveness and just clearing the air. And then when he went, I didn't feel like I hadn't said everything I need to say, cleared everything that I needed to clear, and let everything go that I needed to let go. Because then you're dealing with loss, and then you're also dealing with regret. You don't want to deal with loss and regret and guilt all rolled into one. I don't think I've ever really been in that position, and I hope to never be in that position. I do my best to make things very clear with the people around me. I do my best. Not perfect at it, but I'm certainly better than I used to, because death is real. Death is real. All right, y'all. I'm hopping off. I hope everyone has a good Sunday. I think the rest of my day is going to be a lot lighter than it is now. Once I get home, which should be pretty soon. But please make sure like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to get notified when I drop some more great content. Thanks, y'all.